Welcome to Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris, the best college podcast. Right, Megan?
Right.
It is the best. Where we explore the big questions about education, careers, and the future. But most importantly, the show that is empowering minds.
One episode at a time.
You got it. Good. By the way, I'm your co-host, Professor Chris. I'm the host, Professor Chris, and my co-host, Megan, is behind the camera, which you've all been asking about, but it's going to take a while to get Megan on the camera. I don't know. What do you think? Soon?
It might be a little while.
It might be a little while? Okay.
I like being back here.
Okay. So today, we're going to be talking about sports. I'm going to give a little backstory. The title for today's podcast is going to be Beyond the Game, Navigating College Life as a Student Athlete. So thanks to Megan, I'm not going to share our special guest and the connection Megan has with our special guest today, but you're going to keep watching to find out. But it's been a show that we've been trying to do for quite some time because I'm trying to look for a student athlete that was very serious about their sports, whether they were in college or high school. So it is my pleasure to have our special guest today. But let's do a quick intro. I'm going to run through this quick here because our special guest has a huge resume. All right, he sure does. He left a lasting legacy as a 4-year varsity starter at Freedom High School, where he helped lead the team to an impressive, you ready for this, 76-18 record. That's amazing. His exceptional performance earned him an All-SMAC conference honors 3 times, as well as all-district and all-county selection twice. He is one of only 3 players in a program history to achieve remarkable milestone of recording, you ready for this? 1,000 points, 500 assists, 200 steals. He's a very good thief. He steals 200. He's very good. He's a very good thief. Okay, now let's fast forward to college. He started at Catawba Valley Community College, where again he continued to score. He scored 390 points, made second team All-Region 10 before transferring to Lenoir-Rhyne. At Lenoir-Rhyne, Division II institution, may I add, he started in both his sophomore through his senior year, where he scored 725 points over 3 seasons. That's a lot of points. He led Lenoir-Rhyne to their first ever Sweet 16 appearance in the NCAA Division II tournament. I'm just excited, so you might have to excuse me for my little lapses here. His performance in 2017 earned him All-SAC honorable mention. Currently, though, he is working as an information technologist, as a QA analyst. But once a baller, always a baller. So he maintains a consistent work ethic and still plays ball. But most importantly, he is a proud husband who enjoys spending time with his wife. I'm not sure if his wife put this in or he put that in, but he enjoys spending time with his wife and is an amazing dad. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Darrion Evans to our show today.
Woo!
Thank you for the great intro. Pleasure to be here.
We're going to do it the way we do it on Let's Talk Ed. Welcome.
I love it.
Thank you. Once again. Darrion, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to have you here today. How you doing?
Doing well. Your camera lady is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know.
Thank you. You can say that, but I can't say that. Thank you. Well, today, as you can see, I'm in all sports mode today because we're talking about sports. I'm very happy to have Mr. Darrion here. Let's get right to it. Tell us a little bit about how you started playing basketball. You can start from, I don't know, if middle school?
Yeah. So I started playing when I was about 5 years old. I played 2 sports. So I played basketball and football.
Yeah.
So I tried to focus on one sport going into like middle school, and basketball became that sport. Right. Football, they say football will make basketball players, and it definitely made me a basketball player.
Nice.
But I was in the newspaper as early as 6 years old for basketball achievement.
Yeah.
So I remember being at my sister's middle school game, and they had a free throw competition, and I won the free throw competition at 6 years old, shooting on a 10-foot goal. So
that's it.
That kind of like got me going and like thinking that I could do something. The paper had me. My mom had a clipping, and it said young Michael Jordan, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan is like the all-time greatest in my opinion. So I'm a Kobe guy too, but he's the all-time greatest in my opinion.
So I was gonna ask you at the very end who your GOAT is, but I think you already gave it up. Okay.
Kobe's my guy, but Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time.
Okay.
But from there, decided to just focus on middle school, focus on basketball in middle school.
Okay.
And that's when I started to notice that my skill was elevating more than my peers.
Okay.
So 7th grade, I starting. Back then, from where my hometown is, like 6th graders couldn't play, so we have 6th through 8th grade.
Yeah.
So I still had to play in elementary school when I was in 6th grade.
Right.
But 7th grade, I made the team, started, and 8th grade, of course, started as well.
Right.
And then going into high school, had the opportunity to try out for varsity through an open gym. The coaches liked what they seen when I came to the open gym, and they was like, "Hey, do you want to try out for varsity?" Yeah. I made the varsity team.
Wow.
Didn't start right away.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to expect really.
But this was in high school.
Yeah, this was in high school. I was 14 years old, and I'll never forget it. But it was a great opportunity. I even during that freshman year, I didn't play a lot starting out.
Yeah.
But then at that point, coach was like, "Do you want to move down to the JV?" And I was like, no, just because I want to learn, because I'll be here next year.
Right.
Lo and behold, after Christmas break, he was like, "We're giving you the keys the next 4 years," and the rest was history. Played the rest of my 4 years as a starter, and had some really good seasons. Met some really good people, still lifelong friends to this day.
Nice.
And that led to a college opportunity.
Right.
I thought just hearing the talk.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I was gonna say so high school before college, were there like scouters still looking at you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had one opportunity for a full ride, and it was at a Division II school.
Okay.
I did like the school, and it was in the mountains, and I know how it gets like in that Boone, Banner Elk, North Carolina area. So I was like, nah, I can't do it. Right. And then I thought I was going to get more offers after that, but it did not work out that way.
Yeah.
So at the end of that, my senior year, I only had one offer available, and that was to go to community college.
Right.
Talk about a shot to my ego.
Yeah.
It was a shot to my ego because I accomplished all these things in high school, 4-year varsity starter. But then I took that opportunity and I made the most out of it. I made a goal for myself to be out of there in a year. Yeah. And it worked out that way. Received a scholarship to Lenore University. Finished my career out there.
Nice. No, that's great. That's a great story. Before we transition though, so who do you look up to, by the way? Who do you look up to?
I look up to my mother. Okay. Because my mother pretty much raised me. Yeah. My parents split when I was about 11 years old. Okay. So it was just me, my mom, my sisters at that point. Right. So they raised me. Yeah. My mom, she did the best that she could. Okay. And that's pretty much who I look up to.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. All right. Now let's get a little messy here, okay? When you were in college, was your long-term goal to go into pros?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So my long-term goal was to go to the pros when I was young. Okay. But once I got to my junior college level, the realization set in middle school. Okay. I was in a program called Gear Up. Yeah. And that was like a program that exposed people to like the college life and life outside of high school. Right. And trades and all of that stuff. Right. So being a part of that program helped me realize that there is other options out there, but my main focus was basketball, being that young. Okay. So I wanted to be a pro, obviously. And then when I got to college, it started to settle in that may not be an actual thing. So,
Right. When exactly in college did you start figuring out that wasn't going to be the...
So going into my junior year. Okay. Once I realized that we were bringing in a new coach. Right. Because I played for 4 different coaches all 4 years of college. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
They brought in a recruit from a Division I level.
Okay.
That I started coming off the bench. So I've been a starter at this point all my life.
Yeah.
So it humbled me.
Right.
And I realized like there's players that are better than you, that are bigger than you, that can do the same things that you can. And that's what they look for in pros.
Right.
I'm only 5'8", 5'9" on a good day.
Yeah.
So,
but you're a point guard.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
But the point guards in like the professional levels are like 6'3", 6'4", and that's what they're looking for. Sure. And I understood that.
Right.
So that's when I started to realize like maybe there is something else that I could be great at.
Right. So then, what were you studying?
So in school, I was studying sports management because I wanted to become a college coach.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to get into how you got into the IT, but I do like your plan B. All right. So in your experience, okay, you got to be honest with me.
Yeah.
When students go into the D1s and the D2, they want to go to pro, do you really think they're taking the academics seriously?
In my opinion, no. I feel like sports become before the academics, but we're supposed to be student athletes. But in my opinion, no. I think everybody's trying to make it, and play the sport that they love until they can't no more.
Right.
So
yeah. Okay. Thanks for being honest with me right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Megan on Edge is very transparent, so I see where she got it from. But that's good. All right. So thanks again. Really appreciate that. I do like this honesty about that because in my 4-year experience, I've had discussions. The good thing with me is I play sports.
Yeah.
I play soccer. I play some football. I say I play baseball really, but I sat on the bench the whole time, so I didn't really play. So I get student athletes, right? So when I'm talking to coaches, professors, where professors are like, why do I have to waste my time on all they're thinking about is the sports, right? And I've always kind of be in between and saying, no, I think student athletes are smart enough to know that they need a plan B. Yeah. So you just don't just put them away. You really got to meet them halfway. So again, thanks for letting me know. What's a typical, let's take basketball season. What's a typical day? I'm not talking game day. I'm talking about Monday morning. Do you all wake up, practice? What does that look like? And then you go to class? Yeah.
So depending on the season, so you have your off season, you have in season, and you have your spring season, which is for basketball is the outside of the season. So if it's preseason on a Monday, you usually have a schedule to where you have your classes obviously first. Most of the time you don't schedule night classes, so you'll go from probably like 8 to 12. Then you'll eat or whatever, go to lunch, and then you'll have your workouts. Then you'll also have like a practice or two, whatever's allowed at that level. So I know Division II has different rules from Division I and other levels as well. So depending on like what season you're in is depending on how long your practice. But you usually have class, then you'll have your workout, then you'll probably have a practice, and then you're done for the day.
I'm happy you said that because I do want all our students watching out there to realize the commitment that goes into. Now let's talk about a game day. Maybe you're traveling. What does that mean?
So depending on how far you're traveling, you usually still go to class.
Okay. Really? A game day. Okay.
Yeah. For Division II, I know it's different. For like Division I, those Power 5 schools, they probably like are staying in hotels but the night before and stuff like that. Division II, you're not normally doing that unless it's like super far away and your athletic program can afford that. But typically you're probably driving no more than 4 hours for an away game. So in our case, go to class. If it's on a Wednesday, we played Wednesday and Saturday. So if it's on a Wednesday, if it's 4 hours away, we probably would leave probably like 2 or 3 o'clock. To get out there or earlier, have our meal and stuff like that, and then we're coming back the same night for the most part. So it don't matter if it's 12 a.m., 1 a.m. We got to come back, and most of the time we have to go to class the next day.
So I'm getting right into the challenges that student athletes face. But let's say you have on game day you have to miss a class or an assignment. When you all come back, did you all have special tutoring where they kind of help you catch up on class, or you're just on your own?
So At the Division II level, usually it's communicated with the professors that we need to leave early, whatever the case may be. So they'll either give us a makeup date for the test or whatever assignments that we missed at the time. So it's usually communicated beforehand and they know our schedule and things like that.
Sounds good. All right. I'm going to talk about some challenges that you face as a student athlete. How were you balancing your academics and your sports?
So my wife knows that I lived in the library because I knew how important me making it through school was. And I knew, like I said, I wasn't going pro. So I was like, I got to at least get my bachelor's degree and go from there. So that was a challenge for me because I was just an average student in high school. I never really studied outside of school. It was me either training for basketball or playing video games. So it was one of the two. I wasn't really studying for school unless I had a test or something that was major. I wasn't really too focused on that. I was just focused on getting better at basketball. So in college, especially junior college, where I went to Catawba Valley, I learned to build the discipline of going to the library, living in the library, knocking out my work so I have some free time at the end. So I created that habit in junior college, but that was still a challenge to be that disciplined. But study hall, we had study hall that was mandatory that helped with that as well.
That's great. What was your relationship with your instructors, coaches, students, teammates? What would you say?
I think I had a pretty good relationship with all of them. No, I wasn't like the rah-rah guy that was talking the most or anything. I was the observant guy that said what he needed to say when needed to be said. So I feel like I had a pretty good relationship with all of them. Still have a pretty good relationship with all of them today. As far as like the people that I met at school, the coaches that I met, my teammates, I still feel like I could reach out to them at any time. They could reach out to me and we could pick up where we left off.
Sounds great. Let's talk about money. How were you making it in, let's talk college, because high school, I don't expect you to be working much. But in college, did you get a scholarship, financial aid? So it was a mixture of both. So with it being just my mom, we took advantage of FAFSA. And my mom worked at a community college back where we're from. So she kind of knew how to get scholarships and stuff like that. But all she did was apply for FAFSA. And they was able to, whatever FAFSA didn't cover, they was able to give me an athletic scholarship for the rest. So it kind of worked together and it actually helped my team because they were usually able to use more money to go elsewhere to other players that way. That's great. Did you have to work in addition to your scholarship?
No, some of my teammates had to.
Really?
Yeah, some of my teammates had to do like work study. Which was something they didn't really want to do, but it's what they had to do. I worked during the summertime and I would save my money and I would still run out. So I'd ask my mom, like, Mom, can you send me some money? But other than that,
No, because not that I don't want student athletes to work, but it's very challenging because of the schedule you just gave. You play sports, morning you got practice, you got to go do schoolwork. So usually I'm thinking, I was at a D3 school, so you got to work. The sports wasn't the big thing, so I kind of see that. But even that, you're working sometimes morning practice. You got to go to class. You're from class, you go straight to practice. You're running to the dining hall before it closes for food. So I'm like, I don't see where you have the time to work. But very interesting to know some of your friends were working to do that. Okay. Now we're talking about mental health. Where did you feel stressed?
So at some point, it started to feel like a job that I wasn't getting paid for. So I started to get burned out, especially playing for 4 different coaches.
And this was way before NIL, right? So,
So I graduated in 2017. So it was way before that.
Way before that, right?
So it was like so much change happening at once every year. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So
Well, I'm happy you're here because you didn't stress out beyond the point that you couldn't do anything with yourself. So, no, that's great. All right, let's talk about distractions. Sports in itself is a distraction. Okay. Now, like you said, some of your friends, sports is the first thing they're looking at, so they can see even the academics as being a distraction. I don't know how many times I've talked to the coaches and they're like, no, all we need is for them to just have a 2.0. We don't need a 2.5.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it, but then a 2.5, if you don't make any sports, then what, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. What were some of your distractions?
Distractions was like, I was a gamer. So my Xbox was a distraction at times.
Okay.
My relationship was a distraction.
Okay, we're going to get into that. But yeah.
Yeah, my relationship was a distraction at times.
Okay.
Just trying to be a student or just a college kid.
Right.
You want to hang out with your friends. You want to do all those things.
Yeah.
But you also want to make sure you maintain the proper grades and stay on the team and you want to play.
Right.
So you want to make sure you're making time for all of those things. Right. So all of those things can be a distraction from the main thing, which is like going out. That's a distraction.
Right.
Hanging out with your friends. That's a distraction. Xbox. All of those things were distractions. Relationships. You're going through so many changes and you're like on your own for the first time.
Right.
So all of that is pretty much a distraction. Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, Mr. Darrion. This is good. Get some water. We'll let the camera roll. This is good. Hello, I am Professor Chris, the founder and host of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. College can be one of the most enjoyable and memorable times in your life. After almost 3 decades of different college experiences, I have done, seen, or heard just about everything there is to experience in college life. I draw these experiences from the whole spectrum of educational institutions. These experiences are drawn from my years as a student and many other years as an instructor, a professor, director, a department head, and a dean. But most importantly, the relationship I have built over the years with current and former students as an advisor and mentor, collecting a wealth of knowledge and understanding about college life.
My name is Natalie. I've known Professor Chris for over 10 years. He's definitely given me a lot of great advice.
I ended up completing my engineering degree and went on to pursue a master's. Professor Chris was one of the first people I knew I could count on to help me with that, and he wrote me a letter of recommendation.
Professor Chris has served as a mentor, guiding me through my educational experience. I really think that I am where I am as a professional engineer, partly because of him. I could not say enough good things about Professor Chris.
One thing that has always stuck with me was how he translated every textbook problem to a real-life problem. Professor Chris, you are a true asset to the academic community, and I wish you to keep up with the excellent job you're providing.
Whether you are a student, a staff member, an instructor, or an administrator at a college, you can visit my website at Let's Talk Ed to request a speaking engagement for a small or large group of students, where I provide strategies for the most enjoyable and memorable times in your college and how to navigate college successfully. I am looking forward to connecting with you all in person soon. All right, we're back. We just took a quick break. We're back. We're going to be closing up very soon here, but we can't just leave without him sharing some lessons learned. Again, this show is all about students taking something. Again, this was a special edition for our student athletes. So we'll get right into some lessons learned. The very first one I have is, did you have a plan B? And I think you've talked about that, right? So I kind of want you to go back again, talk about when you realized, one, that, you know what, I love the sports, but I'm not going to go in pro. And then what's the next step after that? How did you start focusing really on your academics? Yeah,
so I had a really good senior year to where I thought I could have an opportunity to try out to go pro or something like that. But then at the time, I realized my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, she was pregnant. So I realized I needed to go find a job. And it was going to take me some time to get into coaching the way I wanted to be able to provide for my family, as well as if I was going to try to play overseas or anything like that was going to take time. So I went straight into work, try to figure out what I was going to do. And that's when I realized I needed the plan B, is when I found out my wife was pregnant. So That was a challenge in itself, trying to figure out what I wanted to do because basketball was all I knew at the time. So
yeah, that's great. So I'm gonna share a quick story here because one of my students that I mentor, and I think this is also, since we're talking about lessons learned, something that I do want students to, I think it was last episode, we talked about some of the percentages of the number of students that really make it to the pros. It's like 1%.
Yeah, it's really low.
So, I like your approach of, I get it, because unfortunately some students don't until fourth year.
Yeah.
They're not probably going to get drafted. And then, lessons learned as far as relationships go.
So I would always say that you need to prioritize the people that you believe that's going to be in your life for a lifetime.
You're saying don't have a girlfriend. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Don't put them on the back burner. Make sure if that's somebody that you want to spend the rest of your life with, make sure you take that seriously. I know that's easier said than done when you're in college, but if you know, and to take that seriously. No,
and again, all jokes aside, because every time I talk to my students, they just feel I'm anti-dating. No, I met my beautiful wife in college as well, and people don't realize if it's a good relationship, they actually can help support you.
Exactly.
Like when you're stressing out, there's somebody there that really is going to be there for you. Not just because you're playing basketball, not just because you are who you are, but really like you to support you, right? Then they will be there for you. So again, my students are probably going to ding me again, like, oh, here he goes again. He said, don't date. But again, if you find the right person and they can support you, go for it.
Exactly.
Okay. What would you have done differently? What would you change?
I think I just would have exposed myself to more opportunities as far as the Division II level. I felt like the Division II level was right for me. I have a coach that I played for at my tenure at LR, who's now one of the assistants at VCU.
Oh, wow.
And he tells me all the time that I could have played at like a Division I level, like a lower Division I. But I feel like Division II was the right fit for me. I just wish I would have known there was more Division II schools out there like that were in like different states and stuff like that. And that I wasn't aware of, because Division I and Division II, they give full ride scholarships, and I was not aware of that.
That's great. What is one thing that you feel like people outside the athletes don't know about student athletes?
I think that we are like kind of jockish in a sense that like we don't know, we're not that well suited in the classroom, or like we don't care to be in the classroom. Some athletes do care.
Right.
I was one of those that like decided to take my academics seriously once I got to college, because I knew that something I cared about, which was the game of basketball, could be taken away from me.
Yeah.
And once that clicked with me, I realized how good of a student I was. And most of us are really good students. We're like just really lazy at times, and we just want to focus on our sport.
Okay.
So that's one thing.
Right. Talk about the work ethic of a student athlete.
Yeah. So I think your discipline is huge. You have to be able to structure your time, because some coaches will have you up at 5 a.m. doing workouts. And if you miss a workout like I have before, then you're going to pay the consequences. And that's the same thing in life. If you're late for work, you'll probably end up being fired at some point if it's consistent. So I think building discipline, building good habits, creating good habits is very huge in an athlete's work ethic, which translates into life.
Mr. Darrion, we're getting pretty close here. I just want us to keep going. What is the advice you will have for student athletes getting ready to go to college?
Just make sure that you know what your end goal is. Whether if you want to go pro, then focus on that. Figure out the ways. There's so many resources out here now that you can figure out how you can get there. If you want to go into a different field, then focus on how you can get into that. I would just say you need to figure out what is going to be best for you and what works for you. That would be my best advice.
That's great. I do have some numbers here, but again, I don't want to deter anyone from thinking, I don't want students to go to pro, but again, I have the numbers here, 73,000 students every year. Out of the 73,000, you have 16,000 that, are draft eligible. Only 200 get draft picks. right? And then eventually 1.6% of that go to the pros.
Exactly.
So, I wanted people to understand, just like you said, that you do need to have that plan B because the percentage or the numbers are not that great.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow, this has been great, Mr. Darrion. So very quick, we're going to wrap up here. We're going to do our closing. Don't worry, you didn't hear much from Miss Megan. Next week, we'll come up with something you hear from her. But people have been asking where the podcast is going. We've addressed basically everything. I've done more than 50 episodes of this where I've talked about financial aid, where to get all these resources. Now we're transitioning into doing interviews like this with people through college, but also now we're going to be looking at specific issues like students cheating. We're going to talk about drugs. We'll talk about sex. We'll talk about all that, right? That's kind of where we're going to transition into right now. But my closing, since you close, it's not any different from yours. I say, student athletes, please have a plan B.
Absolutely.
Simple. Please have a plan B. All right. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. Remember, the value of college degree is as unique as each individual's journey. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the evolving landscape of education careers. Until then, stay curious. Megan, you ready? Once again, we're empowering minds.
One episode at a time.
There we go. You heard it from her. Don't drink beer, but live beer. Megan was on me the last time. What does beer stand for? It means balance, eat well, exercise. The one I keep missing. There you go, and rest. That's once again, it's my pleasure to have Mr. Darrion here. We hope he'll come back again. Great job, Mr. Darrion.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great.